Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Bill.
We are here at FNC's Morning View, and this feels like the book club review.
Well, it's time for the book club. I mean, the Oprah has one.
So FNC
Bill's book club.
Well, I don't know about Bill's book club. The FNC book club. So this morning first, let's review the week. Treasury bonds are soaring in price. The yield is down. We're below 2. We've been below 2. It's amazing.
It's a good thing you invested a lot of money in those treasuries a few weeks ago.
Nobody invested in treasuries. I mean, they've done very well. And now everybody, of course, wants to, for security and safety and all that stuff, rush in and have treasuries. What do you make of all that? We'll get to our books in a minute. For those of you out there, we're going to talk about Creativity Inc. and little bets this morning. At the same time, you talk about some little bets. If you made little bets on those treasury bonds,
well, that's the case
big
where
returns.
That would have been even better.
Yeah, maybe we should have a new book called Big Bets.
Yeah, there we go. So, well, I mean, you know what's going on. I mean, it's there's a lot of uncertainty, particularly in Europe and all the BRICS, you know, and with the oil prices coming down so far, everybody's sort of uncertain about what's going to happen in the future. You know, and so people are going to security right now. That's treasuries. That's not going to last, but even so, it's driving it down now, but it'll come back up a bit. I mean, you know, the interest rates.
So how do we finish 15? Do we finish above 3 or below 3 on the 10-year?
Oh, above 3.
You think it's above 3 on the 10-year?
Oh yes, absolutely.
No reservation, absolute certainty. It's like, oh yes, okay. Well, okay, so now that we know Bob's opinion, all right, now, let's talk about
these. My predictions last week.
I know. So we're talking about 2 books, and one really was the study of, really sort of a combination of one person's career, Ed Catmull, I guess that's the way you enunciate his name, and who is head of both Pixar and Disney Animation Studios. Right. And he's had a varied career. He has a PhD from the University of Utah, and it was graphics, computer graphics.
Right, but he got his basics in physics. You know?
You know, I knew that's where you were headed, all right? I knew it was where you were. And a fascinating story, he went to school, he was classmates with Jim Clark,
right?
Who also had his undergraduate in physics. Right. Okay, I know. I'm just going to bring that up. I knew you were to get that out there, okay? And so they studied, at the time, the University of Utah was like the program in graphics.
Yeah.
And then Clark went on to found Silicon Graphics, Netscape, MyCFO, and what is now WebMD.
Right.
Amazing.
Right. Yeah.
About all those graphical, and it seems as though that Catmull has stayed at, he's been in a different area of computer graphics.
Right.
He's been in the animation side.
Well, he didn't start there.
No, he didn't.
I mean, that's one of the interesting things about the book is that they started Pixar as a hardware company. You know,
but before that, in his career, they were all professors. They had PhDs. In fact, Clark started as a PhD, and so did Catmull.
Right.
And they started to build a computer.
Right. Can you imagine the concept of PhDs starting a company? It's just...
That's amazing, isn't it? Especially with an undergraduate degree in physics.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, having said all that, let's talk about some of the concepts coming out of Creativity Inc.
Well...
and how they might apply to the mortgage business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the number one theme going through both books is that
he's talking also about little bets now.
Yeah, it is that you just constantly have to adjust. There is no right answer. You look at the current situation. If it's not working, you adjust.
Change happens, and so you got to be flexible.
Constantly adjust. I mean, Pixar started out as a hardware company. They didn't make it as a hardware company. They switched to being a software company. Didn't make it as a software company. I mean, Steve Jobs put in $54 million into that company and just bleeding like crazy. And it wasn't until they moved into animation.
Of course, on Toy Story, they made $380 million.
Yeah, you know.
And so that's pretty good return, 54 to 380.
It is.
Then they had 7 straight #1 animated hits?
I thought, I mean, the fun thing about reading a book like Creativity Inc. is that you get all these anecdotes about things that happen. And I thought one of them that was really interesting is that right before Toy Story came out, Steve Jobs said, we've got to go public. And Ed seemed to think that that was the wrong time. He thought, well, you know, let's wait until we get it out and it's doing very well, and then we should go public and really, and Steve Jobs says, no, if we don't go public now, Disney is going to want to acquire us or take over, and they have so much more leverage. And so they went public, and as Toy Story came out, it was a success, and their value just skyrocketed. And then they were equals with Disney,
Right.
which was an amazing story, I thought.
Absolutely. And then they had 6 more straight hits following that all went to #1.
And you know, a lot of it related. He spends a lot of time in the book talking about their philosophy. You know, philosophy of honesty, creativity, fostering, and giving people time to develop these projects, and giving lots of good feedback and support of that. He tells another story where I guess it was with Toy Story 2 that sort of ran off the rails.
Right.
And when it did, they had to sort of all hands on deck to get it back the way they wanted it. And as a result, they had some really serious problems with their employees.
Right.
They ran into some real serious issues.
They worked him to death.
Yeah, they did, and he decided after that that'd never happen again. But you know, you discover things, you find out things. You've got dedicated employees. They know that you're in a bind. They come out and they work and they put in their time. They want to make it a success. That's all good.
So let's talk about some of the innovative things that he tells about anecdotally in the book. And some of these things we've adopted at FNC. For example, we were having our sales meetings in a big U-shaped room, and we were having trouble getting participation. One of the things he talks about in that book is the structure of the room,
Right.
and setting it for creativity. They had a long table. We had a big U-shaped table, and so he narrowed that, and we've done the same thing. We sit around now in a square, a small square. You've got to face the other people,
Right.
and it does foster more discussion. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, those types of unintended consequences that occur for no apparent reason, or you don't understand why that is. He has several examples of that. One was this long table for their conferences where, in order to be able to hear, the senior people sat in the middle.
Right.
And as a result, it became a hierarchy that the closer to the middle you sat, the higher your rank.
Right.
They even had place settings, you know.
Which is
and,
crazy. That's like too much structure.
Oh yeah, and but he had other examples. He said, you know, like when Toy Story 2 first was developed, Disney wanted it for direct-to-video, and as a result, there was not the same quality standards, and you sort of developed an A team and a B team as a result of that, and there was a status associated with that.
Well, let's talk about our clients a minute.
All right.
Our clients are banks. Banks historically are not known for innovation. All right? I mean, they want to be innovative. They have the desire to be innovative. How could they take some of these principles and become more innovative?
You
You're
know,
shaking your head like
well,
this.
The problem is that they are so heavily regulated. You know, there's that Shakespeare quote, the first thing we should do is kill all the lawyers, you know.
Well, let's talk about an analogy from the airline industry, right? We've all gotten on an airline and we've sat down and we've listened to the seatbelt briefing.
Right.
Now, who has not put on a seatbelt if you have been on an airline since 1958, right?
Exactly.
And so Southwest decided they were going to let some of their people be innovative and wrap the seatbelt. And then we have all sorts of new jingles. The most recent Delta Airline jingle has got people asking questions. Well, that's Alex Trebek from Jeopardy, and it's got all kind of people in their announcement that's a regulatory requirement. There's a lot of things companies could do, our clients could do, to be innovative, even in the context of the regulatory requirements.
Well, I mean, that's certainly what we try and do with a lot of our products, is to have innovative ways to address a lot of the regulatory issues and minimize the load on the lenders. But it is a real challenge for the lenders because they are so heavily regulated, and they're honestly very reticent about going outside the box at all, because they're afraid of what that's going to do to them.
So is there some benefit for doing that? And that's one of the points he was making in the book, Creativity Inc., is there are absolute benefits to doing that. Your employees like that, they're very engaged, you have employee retention, and this shows up, theoretically, in your returns to the shareholders.
Absolutely. I mean, reduction in turnover, if nothing else.
Exactly.
Trying to keep people engaged in what they're doing, and we have some of our clients that do that in various degrees. I mean, they really get their employees involved in different initiatives that they've got going on, and that's fantastic.
We'll continue this discussion next week. We're out of time. This is F&C's Morning View. I'm Bill Rayburn with Bob Dorsey. We'll see you at Alpha. I say next week. We will not have it next week. Next week is a holiday. It's the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, the Monday celebrating that. And so we will resume 2 weeks from today. We'll pick up this discussion. You all have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.